This is really exciting. I was telling Brooke and anyone in backstage that I really struggled on the prep here because there is so much material when you start really researching Brooke's background. You get into just, there's so many great stories and big experiences that are not small. You are not hunting around for like, who was your best kiss on, in the XYZ movie. So the new book, I've had the incredible privilege to read, which is called Brooke Shields is Not Allowed to Get Old. And I think that's a really deliberate title that we sort of talked about at South by. But with that in mind, the title itself and how you chose it, what spurred this big passionate project for you? What was it?
The initial reason for writing the book was because I had started my own company called Commence, and it was a platform and is a platform for women, and the community grew, and out of it, we were asked to solve specific problems. So hair care was one of the really important pieces on a woman's mind who was over 40, and so in talking to women, I started to realize that there was a real need for this. So the company grew. I all of a sudden find myself as a CEO at age 58 at the time, and it was such an extraordinary learning curve for me that my agents were saying, well, why don't you write a book about it? And I said, I don't know if there's enough of a book there, and why should it be so extraordinary that a woman in her 50s
sadly, honey,
oh my God, it's just revolutionary. And so I thought about it and I said, okay, I'm more interested I will use my story as a jumping off point, but I want to understand the research. Mm-hmm. When does a woman's confidence peak? How is it different? What actually is going on with her scalp and her body? And it's not just all horrible and bad and the end of the road. There's a joy in realizing you've gotten this far and wanting to do more. So the book became that sort of just the idea of saying, let's really talk to women in this 40 plus, and let's look at marketing and let's look at how we're treated and how we're looked at by the beauty industry, how we're looked at by marketers, advertisers, not just in my industry, which is entertainment, but really just in everybody's lives now. And I was shocked at the little representation, and it's amazing. And so I said, you know what? Okay, let's do this. So I was at a cocktail party with my daughter. That's funny in and of itself. We were smoking a cigarette, having a bit of a whiskey, and I said, hey, kid. So she wanted me to go to this thing and meet these parents. And I was like, you're graduating. Yeah, I got hammered. But I was like, you're a senior. Like, really, do I really need to get to know these parents? Like, am I done with all this? And anyway, I was trying to be very nice, and I was talking to the owner of the house, and it was a beautiful house. And we were talking about wine, and I made the horrible misstep of telling him my age, because I was thinking a 1965 bottle of like Barolo, is it like jam at this point? Like that would be funny to me.
Where are its knees? How's its scalp?
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought, okay, that's going to be a funny tidbit in my sense of humor to add to a book. And he changed his tune so quickly, and he kind of went from being like to you really shouldn't have told me that. I really wish you didn't. And I was like, well, wow, wait a minute, what? But you know my age and now it's offensive? And I just went back to my editor and I was like, what do you think of this title? I said, I doubt they'll let me do it, and they loved it. But we do that. We imprint upon people. We imprint upon, our children at certain ages. We imprint upon certain people who, we've had their picture in our locker, or, and when they grow older, we're not ready for it because our personal relationship with that person is no longer the same, and therefore we've aged as well. And it just, I had the gall to actually get older.
But I think it does feel that way when reading the book and knowing about Commence and watching that journey from, a great idea where I think many of us at She Media and at Flow Space were thinking, products don't really serve you well in this decade, those that maybe worked when you're 25. And so we had a lot of that going on from an editorial and product perspective. And we had this kind of influx of unabashedly open conversation from women. So I love that you were contemplating a market white space, presumably, thinking, let's go hair care, lots of, there is a lot of space there. You have an incredibly credible voice there. I know you say if the product doesn't work, it doesn't matter how great your name is.
And I hadn't intended to monetize that community. Like, that wasn't my original goal. My goal was to get to know the community and say, like, what are you going through? Do you feel this? I don't feel it's fair, but I don't think I'm the only one, and I feel better now than I did in my 20s. There's just so much more that I'm looking forward to, and I wanted to know that was the way there was a collective feeling, and then there was this feeling of we get overlooked. I joked with you the last time. I think you're either the hot girl at the bar or you're in Depends.
Yep, that's about as far as it goes. Or perhaps you might be pregnant.
Options.
There's an option that maybe you were pregnant or breastfeeding or in some way serving.
And Naomi has a book coming out about menopause, and thank God we're talking about that, and I'm so excited for her too. In addition to that, we're not just menopause.
Oh no, we have a lot.
It's like went past here, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating. How can we change that?
And here's there are so many quotes from this book. It's awesome because there's some staggering research that shows you, I think, your intense business brain, because you go deep on research, and then pull that out to think, how can I take that thing that hasn't been well explored and provide some solutions. But the book feels to me like the way you approach a lot of things. And I have a quote. This is why I was cutting all that paper in the back. Oh, dude, there's so many. But we embody vitality. We are smart and vibrant and powerful and ambitious. We're experienced, confident, capable, and complicated. We are running shit. Like, that's a good, come on. That's when you're like, it's not just about menopause. It is about, you're running shit.
It is, I hesitate to sort of sound like I'm on a mug or a, magnet on the refrigerator.
Don't worry, I'll get you a mug.
Yeah, but that there is a certain power that we do come into, and it's sort of unprecedented, and we're so used to biological and societal, and we do all of these things, and it's amazing, and then all of a sudden, your kids are gone. Yeah. And you have to re-meet your partner. You have to re-establish who you are in yourself, and it's a period of adjustment. But it is like the women that I know that are 40 plus are amazing.
Their wisdom, and you talk about the vitality, the friendships you've formed, the degree to which you're not necessarily, it sounds like in your instance, apologizing or pleasing. That leaves a lot of room for ingenuity and innovation. And you said that you kind of not woke up one morning, but it was emerging, it sounds like, when your daughters started, going to college, contemplating college, that you were like, I don't have context for this moment. Like, what happens here? Am I meant to have a grandchild? Am I meant to clean the twigs up in my empty nest? What do I?
Well, and it's also it sort of seems punitive. Like it's empty nest. It's
I hate that term. Can we talk about that?
Dry little twiggy, with some broken
crackling.
Eggs
There's no vitality there. There's no parties.
No. And it's all lost, and it's so all and you think, God, wait a minute, and then you watch
it's a fucking party nest. It's a party nest.
Party in my nest. Oh. Different show. That'll be a great title. Oh yeah. Brooke. Oh boy, it's been a long day. But there is this sort of, and I thought, God, let's see if we can flip it just a little bit, flip the narrative, flip the way we, and it doesn't have to be pressured, and it doesn't have to be angry. It can just be celebratory in a way that helps us see each other the way your friends see you. Yes. which is just...
Which is something more than any of the archetypes that you've talked about. And so we were getting into lately, I told you this backstage, like the 70s concept or emerged in the 70s, the male gaze, which I'm, as a 70s feminist, sort of obsessed with still. And just because I contemplate how I behave based on who my audience is. And it's just not always, it's not consistent. And I was thinking about the many people, you called yourself a people pleaser a couple times, the many people or groups who were probably defining you, whether it was fans, Hollywood, parents, husbands, kids, and then it feels like you're kind of emerging into this like owning the gaze zone. But how do you mitigate all that feedback with the feedback from inside that's like the intrinsic versus the extrinsic?
There's a lot of big
There's
words
a lot in there,
that,
man. I
that
didn't really.
question.
I meant to round it up much tighter.
Mitigate.
It was supposed to be tighter.
Everything's supposed to be tighter.
That was AI.
Thank you. Appreciate that. First of all, you said something in the beginning that like it was inconsistent. See, I don't think that's a problem. I think that there's a certain strength in knowing how to navigate and when to use the gaze to be heard a little differently, to speak in a language that can be received. Like, I don't think that's not my daughters will say, well, that's not feminist. Right. And I'll say, well, I kind of think it might be a radical type of feminism because we have this femininity. It has power. Well, access it, use it, and it's okay. Like, I think as long as you're doing it for the right reasons and it's helping you be heard, fine. I told my daughter, you want something, make it your boyfriend's idea. And what a great idea.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it has to happen.
What would I do without you? And I'm fine. I don't care. Like, everybody's happy.
No, thank you for reframing that because I do feel
So
guilt.
now back to the mitigating. I don't...
You went to an Ivy League school. You're not that impressed by my mitigate.
No, I am. I love words. I have to readjust often because when you start not getting the gaze, your own currency in your own mind starts to get a little tricky, and it's because it's true. So you think like, okay, how do I do that? How am I okay with it? Right. How do I not think less of myself, but how do I still get it when I want it and have it be, because we thrive on all of it. We all want to be seen, and we want to be attractive, and we want attention, and we want to be invited, and it's like all of these things. And I've just in talking to my daughters, I learn a lot about it, and they're confused because on the one hand they're very righteous. And they're first to fight for whatever it is, and then they'll say something about how the boyfriend's gonna think of something, and I'll say, whoa, wait a minute, you don't. That's dangerous. I think you've got to be careful. Again, it's so controversial, but you have to know what you're dealing with too. And she'll say like, Mom, They're boys. They're hormone raging boys.
That's Greer, is that
Greer? Yeah, that's actually Rowan, but Greer has her own version of it. She's tougher. My younger one is definitely tougher. But she'll say, Mom, listen, I get it, but I have to be careful. And I said, well, that's smart. You know your audience, and if you feel like you're in an uncomfortable position, then protect yourself from said unsaid position. You know what I mean? And so I think I learn a lot from them, but I think we have to be careful how we label.
I think that's a great point, and that it's, I think probably the guilt I would feel over reacting differently or presenting myself differently in different audiences would be because am I not consistent or real or authentic? And I think it's a good point that you can...
One of the most real, consistent, authentic people I've ever
We're best friends.
met. No, seriously, it's always refreshing to speak with you.
But I think that sense of like you can be yourself and yet recognize the dynamics in the room and recognize what it is you're I mean, that's just smart, to your point. Now, so in this...
We do it all the time, and we do it at our family, we do it with teachers, we do it with certain professionals. Like, we put on different hats, and that's okay. I
think one of your messages that I really took away was also stop beating yourself up about all the things that you're not doing quite
it's just something that's happened much more in this era, because I just got too tired of it. And I was the loudest, biggest voice in the room about it. And I'm the first one. And I had a trainer who said, because I work out. That's my husband's
Pilates this morning?
Not this morning, not at 5, my God. Ooh. No, but he said, when does it start? He's like, I watch these women come in and they're stunning and they're fit and great and like they're lovely to be around. And then, they'll go, ooh, look at that. A guy could have a Volkswagen stuck to his stomach and be like, yeah,
looking good.
Got it. And there's something to that. And I said, I think it starts, oh, that's my athletic one. Oh, that's my brainiac. Oh, that's and you're like, wow, I'm doing it. Yep. I'm doing it. Yep. Okay, I can't do it. Or when people come up and say, oh my God, your babies, you're so beautiful. And I always would say, we are strong and smart, and you feel like that
really
movie.
Pretty.
And yeah,
no, at the end of the day, I'm like, you're beautiful also.
Yeah, but like all of our kids are the most beautiful in the world. They just are. Like, but I think people say really stupid things to kids.
Prince, to your point, that gets in there, and you've had that experience of bringing it all in. I'm fascinated by. Just again, back to you, because I'm just, the space of CEO is, we've talked about it before, it's so rad. And I wonder, when you are, one of the harder gazes I've ever been up against or tried to engage has been the male VC. And there's that saying, like, God, if only I had the confidence of a mediocre white man, which I kind of love. No offense. I didn't get much of a laugh at that at all. Anyway, sorry, white boys. But I think that one is daunting. And so I'm wondering, when you flip from one version of yourself to a very real version of yourself that's got the data, you've got you have the community, which is a massive research source for you. Like, what'd you put on?
It was. I've sort of had to really put on armor, because the first couple of times I left so much smaller, and I was so naive, because I thought, oh, they'll get it, they'll get it and they'll care, and then by the second, maybe even third time, I was condescended to in such a way that I've been quoted saying this, I will repeat it. But
do it, because it's so good.
One guy, we were asking for funding money, and so this one person, and it had happened a couple times, immediately told us what we were doing wrong, and how everything we did was wrong, and where we were failing, and how it wasn't going to work, and all of this stuff. And I just had enough. And I stopped, and I said, please excuse me. I'm going to say something that will sound disrespectful, but I need to respect myself at the moment. And the beauty about this whole meeting, I know you're very busy, but I didn't ask for your advice. I just want your money. And if you don't want to give me your money, that is fine. Like, why would I waste any more of your time? Right. Maybe it's a little pittance of money, and you need to do it at a C, A or B or whatever. But like, we're just a seed, so okay. And he instantly was like, I was like, don't just. It's really fine. I'm trying to, on the one hand, I was told once, you need to act more like a CEO. And then when I did act like a CEO to said person, and demoted this person, and needed to be. The horror. It was like, oh, I'll give you a moment to think about it. I said, I don't need another moment to think about it. Wow. Thought about it. This is my decision, and done. And so this has been empowering for me, because not everybody's going to like you. And I spent my whole life just wanting to be liked by everybody.
Because I know I've read various of your books, and the people pleaser and your audience is something your mom said that I won't get quite right. But it's like, everybody is your audience. There's no segment. It was this was in there was a little girl that was saying that the idea that everybody's your demographic, which I kind of believe for you. It's like my dad, it's my kids, it's my, like it's like MAGA and, Brooklyn bubble. You got them all. Like you got the Brooklyn bubble, you got everybody. And so with that, I don't know. I don't like being not liked, although people probably don't think I care.
Though, if there's like 100 people and there's one that you kind of is giving you a bit of side eye, you're kind of like, I'm going to zero in on that one person. I'm going to put all my energy, and then you just sort of go, oh, stop already. Come on, you don't have to do that. It's okay. And it's only been in business where I've had so much to learn and really felt like I was back at school, that I've let that part go. I have to remind myself, but I have to say, like, and do you even want that person as your friend, or do you like them? That is not, it's not a testament to your value if you think about it. It's just your ego getting insecure. And so when you can step back and see that, then you're like, okay, it's fine. That
would be great to learn how to do. I think that even the lame parties I don't want to go to, I still kind of want to be invited to. So
I do though, but that's okay. Like we're human, you know. I mean, and we still sometimes lapse into being like in high school, and it's like, I'll be your best friend, and then it's like it changes as you get older, and that's been really interesting to me.
Tell me about your friends.
My female friendships have changed, and not all there've just been some I've gotten to re-know as I am now, but they knew me in high school or they knew me in college, and you have to, like, it's okay if some friendships you grow out of or they grow out of you. And we're all constantly, I think, evolving, or at least trying to. So my friendships have gotten fewer, but more necessary.
Right.
And less, not obligatory, but I always felt I just spread myself thin.
Like, oh, I haven't been in touch for a minute. Got to text that person, text them back. Was it their birthday? All those. That's that doesn't feel great. I love seeing your friendships. I'm slightly jealous, but still, I love seeing your friendships with like Allie Wentworth and with so many women who seem to fit all different areas of your life. And it feels like you...
The interesting thing about that is that we're all equally as insecure about it.
Okay.
We'll all get into
sort of
a
a
room
session,
and you'll sort of, but I'll say like, oh, that person just kind of got nervous about that. And I thought that they were this. And then you're watching that and when you see it all play out, you're sort of like, oh, wow, it's okay. We all get insecure. We all want to be your best friend. It's like, and nobody has it figured out or better and you just have to be really willing to be honest or say like, okay, when you don't pick up the phone and you don't call me back, I'm immediately thinking I did something wrong. And my therapist said, do not indulge that. Right. Don't do that to yourself. She just might be busy. Right. And then you find out she was just really busy. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then, but so it's like, we play into it. We indulge it, I think
there's no antidote to those feelings. There's no better antidote than having really good friends. I think that in my life, having great friends is what makes me never worry about those who, I don't even know if people write back to me or not most of the time, because I am so blessed with excellent friends, a lot of whom are from high school or from some early phase of life where you're like, it's wild that we still adore each other, have grown up in compatible ways. But you had I love this quote too, honesty in the stack, there's a lot of them. Honesty with compassion is what I value most in friends, not bluntness. And have there been moments where you've had to be sort of not blunt, but give tough feedback to a friend or receive tough feedback from a friend?
I'm always very, very careful of how I don't give advice. Because you never really know how to walk through someone else's whatever they're going through. And then I have some friends who will say to me, oh, well, I'm just going to be your tough love friend. And
no one asked for that.
And also, but you also sort of go like, do you really think I need that? Because maybe I don't need that. Maybe I just need listening, or maybe I just need you to tell me it's going to be okay. Or, I've evolved enough and done enough work on myself that I'm not bound so tight here and want to be released from this torture. I've seen and done a lot, and I've worked on myself. So tough love, maybe I don't need tough love.
Maybe this isn't the time.
But or maybe that's them saying they need tough love, right? So then I have to interpret that and say, well, how do you feel when that happens to you? Because right now it's not what I feel like I need. And if you can just have those conversations, you're not judging yourself, your reactions, or your friend.
I think that kind of feedback on how I'd like to be approached is super valuable, and probably not something we do often enough, whether it's in the workplace or with romantic partners, where it's like, here's how I'd like to be. My kids will say it to me, like, Mom, I don't want your feedback. I just want you to sit there and say how great I am at something, or whatever. I want radical support, not right now, not here's where you can edit that. And I think that if you can encourage that kind of honesty of we'll say, okay, so I have a friend whose husband is a douche, and we were in this stage, we were all the friends listening, and we're all right, so are we saying get rid of him? What role are we playing here? Or are we talking you into keeping him? He wasn't a big enough douche that it was requiring of super intervention. It was more I don't like the dude, I don't think he's worthy of you, but also I see, there are reasons you're together and he's not an evil person. But we were which one are we? And she was right now, you're still assuming I'm going to stay with him. And so you're giving some reasons why he's not a complete asshole. And then we had a meeting 2 months later, and it was no, now we're talking about what a complete asshole he is. And we're looking on Facebook to find high school boyfriends. And we're doing that version now. And I thought that was really fun, to have, or not fun for her, but it was useful. It was useful to have that. And you seem to have those kinds of honest relationships.
Well, and I've learned a lot from my kids for that too. Because Greer will say, Mom, please don't try to fix this. Just listen to me. And I'm just sitting on my hands and I'm biting my tongue because, and then I'll try why do you think you reacted that way? And she's oh, Mom, please. And so it's, there's
subtext
exactly, and so I know I have to meet them differently,
right?
And when you figure one out, and the next one is completely different. So it's, but I think female friendships they're just so important. Yeah. And it's okay if they don't all know each other and love each other.
Right.
I have friends that I do this with. I have friends that I laugh like that with. I have my boozy friends. I have my granola friends. And they each serve a different part of my soul and psyche. And I used to think they all had to know each other. They all had to love each other. They all had to be best friends. And and it was just torture for me to be in the same room with them because I wanted them all to. And I don't have to do that. For my 60th birthday year.
When is that, guys?
It's
in May.
31st, but I'm going to take the whole year. And I'm not just doing a day with a party that ends too quickly and then you're I want to party again. I'm going to do something special with groups of friends.
Me, and then who else?
Start with you. Everybody in this room. But I'm going to try to take experiences that I really want to have and spend the time and the money on them.
Awesome.
And just celebrate the year of this big year that I'm walking through.
I think that's wonderful and sounds incredibly fun, and I'm excited about that. Can't wait. So I am going towards the area now of your advocacy. Basically, you're standing up for women, which I can tell you as a Gen Xer. And how many of you guys identify as Gen X? Come on, Katie, I know you do. Okay, that's it? Come on, man. Okay, all right. Boomers? What do we got? Boomer? Whoa, okay, boomer. Got a few word. Okay, so, and then millennials? Yeah. No, you're solidly X'd. Don't try to let them take you. No, you're X'd.
Oh, okay.
You're X'd.
I thought
it's 65 to 80
Okay.
worth. Wait, sorry. What do we got in millennial? Okay. I see you. Okay, so there's that. And then there's Gen Z in the room. What? Oh my God, you guys are so cute and hard to employ. But so within that frame, I didn't know what postpartum depression was before Brooke Shields. I did not know. And you had it felt like just the brains and the brawn to get out there and talk about it. And I mean, it was like watching a freaking epic, like opera, watching the meltdown of the male star who thought he could tell women whether they could or could not take and you wrote the brilliantly written op-ed, War of Words. It just was so freaking cool. People are always like, I'm using my platform for good. It's like, okay, cool, you posted something. But I think that you changed laws in Jersey, and as a Jersey girl, I thank you. But that was incredible, so thank you. Anyone who actually knew what postpartum depression was by the time they hit it, maybe in the aughts, I guess, I wouldn't have known what it was, and I wouldn't have known what to do about it. And my husband's a psychiatrist. He wouldn't have known to prescribe. He was like, we talked about it a little in med school, but wasn't really a thing. And now it feels like you're kind of contemplating this zone for women in a third chapter that's often been written off the screen. How do you decide when to take personal and to bring it into the main stage?
I don't think I've ever had a plan for any of it. I think the first 2 books that I wrote about postpartum and about my mom's dying, they were events that I was grappling with and felt had been played out on a public scale, public platforms for so many years that I felt like I needed to get my voice out there. With regards to postpartum, I was so destroyed by it and thrown for a loop and just had no knowledge, and the fear and guilt and all of it. I had an agent who just passed away, sadly. He said, I think you really need to write this book. So each book came out of an event or something in my life that was very poignant. And the timing has been uncanny with regards to deciding to start this company, then deciding to write this book about it, to really be forthcoming in all of it. The timing just worked out. I don't set out to do things. I just try to be really honest about what I've lived through. Don't give advice, but say, this is what I experienced. Let's talk about it. So it's less of a plan. It
doesn't feel like a scheme strat plan, but it feels like this. But it feels deliberate sometimes. Like not. It doesn't feel opportunistic ever when you publish.
Oh, thank you. I always worry about that because you just sort of think like, oh, is this another celebrity, talking about themselves? And the documentary was about me, and it's a lot of me all there.
But you're also a super good writer, which I don't know, and very funny. Funny. Did you guys know that? If you haven't read you're really funny. That sounded so awkward.
Humor
funny
is
girl.
So important for me. It saved me. It's held me strong and up, and it's just been such a source of contentment and confidence and joy, and I love it, and I love being able to sort of take the piss out of my life in a bit and not take everything so seriously. We get so earnest and everything. So, and then you just look at the entire world that we're trying to live in, and you just go, how do I count my blessings? How do I not take it all too seriously, but to give it respect?
And I think the not taking, knowing what is spilled milk and what is, true tragedy. And you've had strokes and broken bones, and also you're falling down. I don't know what's
clearly I don't get enough attention.
So I know, but I think probably through that you've learned to advocate, I would assume, and I know you've been very honest about tricky topics, and which is super helpful to many of us. I think, sadly, and you've remarked on this in your book, that with the very, very tiny amount of research dollars, medical research dollars that go into exploring women's brains and bodies, that we low-key need the people who are willing to talk about their experiences and who have found solutions by virtue of just being incredible self-advocates. So.
And we're not taught that, if you look at the stats. But I learned the hard way. And I think that's why when I write books, I've usually learned something the hard way, and then think like, okay, not poor me or at all victim to any of it, but to just say like, well, I wished I'd known this, or I wish it would have been helpful if this tidbit of information was given to me instead of being overlooked and sort of dismissed. And I had a cone biopsy when I was younger, and I was probably saved my life, but I didn't know that it would make it almost impossible for me to get pregnant. So, I would have been able to be more proactive. And I think knowledge about ourselves allows us to be more proactive.
I think we do walk into the doctor's office in the US and think like, it's cool, like, I'm in the doctor's hands, and this is not about medical professionals. I think it's about, well, in some cases, but a system that just doesn't have patient care, time, space, economic model, which is really sad. And I think that
it's understaffed. I mean, you see where the problems start, but that's why you have to be able to not be ashamed to ask questions.
That's one of the things you've taught many of us, and that's and not to be ashamed of it. It's not like you're stupid because you don't know that scar tissue is going to build up or something like that. Like, who knew? It's like, yay, here's the biopsy, cool, clean. But there are other things that are going to come along. And with that in mind, I am meant to be wrapping up very soon, but I have to ask you some, and then we're going to, I think, take a few questions from the audience that are well vetted and very nice people, because I know almost all of them. But when you were interviewing Katie Couric on your podcast, you asked her if anyone ever intimidates her when she's interviewing people, and I loved that, because I was wondering everyone's like, wow, Sam, you get all nervous when Brooke comes around. And I'm like, it's because I grew up with this icon, like I know you don't like that word, so you said this morning, but whatever, this hot piece of trade in my town. And, going to Princeton when I was like a little high school kid, and we all, like all of our friends would like creep around campus trying to find Dean Cain and Brooke Shields, because we were a few years younger. And
he's creeping around.
Yeah, I bet. Exactly. Yes, the creep. The creep continues. So, is there anyone who, I think that, to your point, the imprinting is what it is. It's like, I've been watching for so long. Is there anyone you've ever interviewed or met who was kind of nervous making?
I'm this sort of, I've got this dual thing that happens in me. I am such a fan of people, like actresses and actors, and like I would sit and go to the movies with my mom, and we'd go to the movies all the time, and we'd like bring sandwiches in, and sometimes we just go in the middle of one movie and then finish at the end, and then wait and watch it to the beginning from where we came in, and we'd go to the next movie theater, and they knew us in New Jersey at these movie theaters, and then I'd sit in the back of the car on the way home and just put my head on the window and put myself in all the movies.
Wow.
And I loved movies. So then when it came time to meeting any movie stars, I was just starstruck. And it sort of in a weird way didn't match up with, so people thought I was being disingenuous and sort of blowing smoke up their ass or something, because that's what, and I was like, no, I'm legitimately. And just recently, I had the opportunity to act opposite two very, very just talented and wonderful women. And I don't get to do that a lot. That's not the way my career sort of has unfolded. And where I'm acting opposite people who are really going to bring my game up or are intimidating to me. And
who were those women? Was it me? No, who was it? Can you tell us?
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Glenn Close and Naomi Watts.
Oh, well, shit. Yes.
And I walked into the room and I just thought, oh God, I've not met them before. I mean, I knew them, I met them, but Glenn and I are actually cousins, which is weird, but we are. Naomi's been a friend, but it wasn't that. It was that I was in the room opposite talent, and all my life, I've had a precarious relationship with my talent. And I'm the pretty one, I'm the celebrity, I'm the this, but she's not really all that. Like it was always something that kind of stuck in the back of my head, and a tape I played. And then it was, supported by not getting that many opportunities to work with women of this caliber. And I started the day, and of course it's like a crying scene, and it was like, it couldn't have been worse. And I was really I was just pushing. And I thought, I said, excuse me, may I go to the ladies' room, and I went to the bathroom, and I kind of looked at myself and thought, you've got to stop doing this right now. So I went outside, I went to the director, and I said, I'm making this too complicated. And I said, I don't think she would do this. I don't think that this would be where she has gotten to in her life. Let her daughter cry, let her daughter rant. It needs to be right there the whole time. And the director just looked at me, and she just said, yeah, you don't have to try so hard, Brooke. And then, of course, all the emotion came, but it wasn't overdone. It was the right level. And at the end of the day, she came over to me and put her hands on my shoulder and said, thank you, that was good work. And immediately I went, oh, no, thank you, it's great. Okay, I gotta go, and couldn't make eye contact. And she put her hands on my shoulders and said, you need to hear this. She said, you blew me away. And I'd not had that kind of validation. And, we need it. We need validation. It's okay. I'm not ashamed to have needed a nod of approval from Glenn Close, which I got. And she even kind of went like that. And I was like...
Did she give you a little wink? Did she give you a little wink? Oh my God, a click and a wink.
Click.
Oh my God.
But it wasn't in a condescending way, like, you need this from me. But it was just it was in a colleague way. Right. And to be 59 and feel that... Right. And then, like, recently, I'm just going to start name dropping all the time. Jane Fonda called me. And I thought, well, why are you calling me? Like, I know your granddaughter, but I don't really know you. And she asked me to go to dinner. Wow. And I was just so I was gobsmacked. Because now I'm British. I was in awe of this woman's experience. And she showed her vulnerability to me, and she said, I want to understand, how you've maintained a life that you have. And she said, I don't even think you've even touched upon your best work yet. Yeah. And it's so interesting to be this age and have it coming to me in a way that, my Lisa, my high school friend, would go downstairs in the hotel where we'd be shooting I'd be shooting a movie, and she was always like hired as my assistant so that she could hang out with me, and she would go downstairs and drink at the bar with my mother. Truthfully, that's right. That was what she did. And so I would learn my lines up in my room, and she'd say, do me a favor, please don't cry into the sink, please, just don't do it. And I'd be like, how does she know I cry into the sink? Like broadcast news, you cry really quickly and then you plug the phone back in and you get on with life. And it was so interesting to go from that little girl who was afraid I was never talented to being seen and whatever that was, a validation or whatever it was, but it was this, we were all in this together and we were colleagues, and I didn't feel less than. And that, to feel that way in this era of your life is really great.
Was the director a woman? I don't know that.
She was a woman named Goethe or something like that. She was like...
She sounds terrifying already.
She was terrifying.
Yeah, I'm scared.
And she had this thick German accent, and she was like, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
she's gonna hurt me.
Goethe got it, though.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't, and I think they see you, literally, figuratively, all the ways. They get it. They're like, oh, I remember that time I was in a room, and I was talented, but I thought I didn't belong for some reason.
And we do it all the time. And you just, it's like, God, get out of your own way. Just get out of your own way. Don't keep saying, what if I suck? Or what if I'm not talented? And, what if I can't do it? And you're already starting behind the 8 ball. And because you know what your brain's going to do? It's going to answer. Here's why you're going to suck. Here's why you're not going to do it. Here's all the reasons why you are not going to hold your own. she's done more movies. She's this. She's got an award. Blah blah blah. Blah. And you will answer that negative question perfectly.
Because it's already sitting there baking for years, and
you're good. And I have just affirm your.
So because it's always amazing to me because your fear of CEO seems like this, and then the discussion of your excellent acting is a big, holds more space. It sounds like, where I'm like, I'm still scared to be a CEO, and I've been one for a minute, and I acting like an idiot in front of. I can't help that part of it, but I've never tried to act. And this has nothing to do with me. I don't know why I'm trying to line them up, except to say that you walked into the CEO room really comfortably, and you've proven yourself so many times as an actress, as a dramatic and comedic actress. So clearly there is more work coming, right? It feels like, do you want to have a perfect TV show, or is it a movie, or what is it, guys? Jason? Okay, so what kind of role? What are we looking at? What kind of role?
I don't even really know what it is yet, and it's fine. I don't need to know. There are things, there are characters. I'm doing a reading of a musical of the life story of Margaret Wise Brown, who wrote Goodnight Moon, and she had a unbelievable sort of beautiful, torrid love affair with a woman who was 20 years older than she is. And the music, it's a rock musical. And, it's been so emotional because, who knew that I would that would come by me, and it's just a reading, and I just want to try to help them get it produced. And I've been saying yes to things that I need to say yes to creatively. I've also said no to things that I know I'm not going to be put in my best light. And just to say I did it, or I soldiered through it, I don't want to put myself through that anymore.
I read that. That was very empowering in the book as well, that you could say no. Yes, babe. What would be a great biopic to do? Thank you, Jason. Jason's like a big fucking deal, apparently. He's right over here.
Look at how he's just
very big.
Hi,
Lisa. He's just chilling.
Just,
you know what? He's like, what would be a good biopic? You know this? Anyway, he's sitting next to my friend, though. What would be a great biopic? What do you think? What would be the one?
Oh, God. I mean, so many people lately have wanted me to play my mother, but...
Oh, shit.
But you know what? I think
that's
it's done,
intense.
Though. It's sort of done, and it's become it's not a cliche. Like, there's something... There was a fabulousness to my mother, Terry. Yeah. Like... That kind of ballsy.
I don't know. I listened to that. I was listening. It's hard to turn off. It is a good listen because it's mothers and daughters and the good stuff and the bad stuff. And you wrote it in a beautiful way. I'm thinking of there was a little girl.
But the depth of love is always what is so fascinating to me in mothers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I've got my eye on a couple of things that I'm sort of trying to. I used to also read a book in hardcover. And then call my agent or manager and say, I found the project that I want to do. And they'd say, oh, the one Reese Witherspoon just wrapped? And you're like,
annoying.
Yeah, that one.
That's the one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The
Can we
one
call Reese?
I was like, the hours. This is going to be the best book in the world.
You could have done Maria, I think, the one that Angelina just did. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think that's also another pet peeve of mine is that when your relatives who don't know anything about the business say, how come you weren't in that movie?
Yeah, I just did that. I just did that.
You're like, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't there the day they cast me. Don't ask me, or they'll say to my husband, how come you didn't write The Hangover?
Right.
And you're just like, and it's coming from a good place. Like they want you to succeed, but you're just sitting there staring at the phone going, I'm not getting called for it.
Well, they can't fathom that you didn't get the call because you're so genius. Well, okay, so we have to think about the biopic, and I want a TV show. Would you do on the streaming? On the streaming? Yeah, don't you?
I want to do. I mean, like I'm addicted to hacks. I love that type of dark humor.
You've done great dark humor. What am I thinking about right
humor.
now? Which one's the? It was TV. It was
maybe Allie's show.
Yes,
Might have been Allie's show.
Yes.
To me, dark humor is just the funniest because it's so wrong and it's so incorrect that you just kind of have to lean into it and think it's funny. I grew up with that kind of humor. So, but what I love about comedy is that if done correctly and in the layered way, it makes the drama and the dramatic moments so much more poignant because of the levity.
Yeah.
And then you're sort of taken by surprise by these. You're not expecting them like you would in just a straight drama. So to me, I find those nuances really, and I'm just ready to have my own show again.
I'm ready for that too.
And yeah.
Are you guys ready for that? You ready for Brooke's own show? We're all going to watch it and promote it, and it's going to be amazing. And all of Penske Media, right? Ramin, where are you? No. We're all promoting. Thank you. One more thing is, what are you scared of doing? Because I have a thing I need to talk to you about. But what are you scared of doing? Is there anything like jumping out of the
all the things that I used to be scared of doing, I would have to do. Mm-hmm. Like I had to learn to surf, and I had to then jumping out of a bungee or jump or something like that. I don't want to do any of them anymore.
Okay.
I have no interest in doing anything that could jeopardize my life. And so I'm just I used to want to prove myself to, I'd love to play a badass character,
right.
Someone who beats the person up or,
right.
Because I am this, it's funny to be this size woman and be sort of have that. I think I just think that that's kind of fun.
You're great at physical comedy, I would say also.
I love the freedom in physical comedy, I'd love to do more Broadway. I think I really am just sort of the net's wider for me now, and I think that's what's, and then I'll spend a week or just a day like today, and I'll be in a very media-centric dynamic, and I'll think, I can do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there's some, I don't know if that's who I want to be.
But you could do it.
But I could do it. Yeah. And I've done it enough to feel that kind of confidence. I just feel acting wise, I'm just beginning rather than
a lot. I agree with Jane. I agree with Jane on the a lot is coming, and I love that you've already conquered. You got CEO down. There aren't a lot more. So you want to be a pilot. I mean, there's also we're going to talk about surfing because I surf and I love surfing. And you were probably going to the Hamptons or something. It was cold water.
It was bitter cold, and
where were you?
Montauk?
Montauk?
What was under there? We were in Montauk. I didn't tackle because of the sharks. I was it was bad enough to be in South and East, and
that's terrible surfing. That is cold.
It's
cold. Not for toughies, but
I thought I was going to come out with this huge metaphor of life, go towards the wave and. Head first into it.
That's, by the way, why we named this flow space, because I find flow in surfing. But
I do not. I find
places,
gripped knuckles.
I know, it's terrifying.
And fear
it's totally
and
terrifying.
Self-loathing.
And finally, where do you find flow? For us, flow is mikai, chiksak mihai, the present tense immersion, when you don't think about anything else going on. It's what we think women deserve and don't get ever. We think that at She Media and specifically the editorial team on Flow Space feel like we are so busy caring for others and contemplating where we're doing well and not that we don't give ourselves that full, for me, surfing, but for some people it's rock climbing or it's playing chess or it's, a child, sleeping with your kid next to you. It could be sex is a biggie, apparently. And so is there anything that would come to mind in terms of, for you, where you find your flow space?
I'm going to bring it back to comedy. I mean, comedy and dance have been the only times that I've not known how I have gotten there.
Yeah.
You get so sort of in it, and then you have to get out of your own way, and then it'll be over, and you'll think, what did I just do? What did I just say? There's something that happens, and it's an out-of-body experience, and I'm trying to find that vocally right now. That it's a very fraught place for me. Okay. Somewhere down the line, one critic said something not glowing about me, my voice, and wanted me to be Barbra Streisand on top of all this other stuff that they wanted me to be, and it stuck with me. Wow. It just stuck with me, and I thought, and so I'm trying to take things and I want to find that flow space within your vocal cords. I was with this teacher the other day, and I was just starting to get really upset, and I thought, okay, I don't need a guru. I do not want, not what's happening. I just need to learn the notes. And she looked at me and she goes, do you need a drum?
What?
I was like, what? Do I need a drum? What is that? She brought out a drum. and started drumming. And by the time I'm sobbing and drumming and I'm thinking, what is happening? And then she starts telling me the story about the original hand drummers were all women. And they were they were the most powerful of the women. And and it's so, Mother Earth. And I'm not that kind of Yoda person. And so I thought, this is interesting, like flowing and getting into, and the fact that I got so emotional.
That's big.
That was, I'll leave you with this. And in 1 second, I heard myself say, I want my mommy. And I was done for that day.
So good. And there was no psilocybin involved.
No shrooms, no nothing. Yeah. And I was, I thought maybe I was being punked, as if that's still a thing or whatever. But it was like, so it was just one of those things where I thought, wow, you're in this era of your life now. Maybe I don't need to go drum on the full moon, but I was like, oh, the resonance, and I've spent so much of my life taking that, and just because you can't afford it, you've got to succeed and you have to perform, and it's okay. It's served me so well, and it doesn't serve me anymore. So it's vulnerable.
I'm very excited for this next phase. I love you too much. I can't keep. Yeah, they've like been giving me times up for like a really long time, but I didn't get to say every single one. But we have we will continue to cover the epic life and journey of Brooke Shields. So
we all have them. We all have epic lives.
Oh, come on, dude.
Just mine gets played out on a big of a
you've handled yours
scale.
with great elegance and generosity, and we all appreciate it.